if we could not have a child that was both of ours, at least it would be part you.
Right.
And I can see your face in our child. This is the Love Intervention. I'm Pastor Evans.
I'm Mrs. Evans.
She gets stuck sometimes. So, the last time we talked about our adoption story,
right,
and kind of things that we went through. It would be nice to go back and listen to that one. But today we're talking about the decision to expand our family.
Right.
So we had one kid at this point. Had a 3-year-old. She was amazing.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She was so cute.
Yes, going to preschool and
so
all kind of stuff.
lovely. Right.
Yes.
Just
yes.
being spoiled.
Right. But if you know our journey, or if you don't, we decided to adopt because we were having issues getting pregnant. But we never gave up on the notion, idea
mm-hmm.
or desire to have children on our own. So at this point, we started looking at some other options.
Yeah. At this point, we had been married a little longer. We felt like we were in a position financially where we could try some different things. Well, first of all, I always wanted 3 kids.
Right.
And so that was a dream of mine, and I felt like we had talked about it, and I felt like we decided that that could be a goal of ours as a family. And so at this point, we had a 3-year-old, 3.5-year-old, whatever. And I was like, well, 1 down, 2 to go.
Right.
And at this point, we still hadn't given up on the idea that God could do it for us if He chose for us to have biological children. So we were still working on that.
Right.
And but at the same time, we also knew that, adoption could be possible a second time.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, because we had been through more medical evaluation, we decided that we would do some type of artificial insemination. Our medical insurance this time would cover something called IUI, and so we went into that whole idea of like research and what do we need to do and getting a lot of questions answered, and then I got on all the medicine.
In order for us to have children with me and you, we would have had to do the IVF, right? Where they pick out one and put one, and we couldn't afford that.
Yeah, we at the time didn't feel like we could afford it.
Right. I wanted to go through the process of you being pregnant, mm-hmm. and being able to take care of you and watching you waddle and all those things, and then have a child. So at that point, if we could not have a child that was both of ours, at least it would be part you.
Right. And
I can see your face in our child, because we were adopting, and at this point, like, there was no way that you could tell me that my baby wasn't my baby.
Right.
And she wasn't biologically either one of us. So I got to a place where I was like, okay, well, we can do it this way, and then we can have the pregnancy experience, and it'll still be my baby.
Right.
So,
but that whole process of going through all of the profiles,
mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure how you felt about it.
You know what? It was weird.
It was
a little weird.
You were going through like all kinds of stuff except for like what the person actually
right.
looks like.
Right.
But at the same time, it was like a smorgasbord of just...
Yeah, it was a little strange. It was a little strange.
Sperm with faces. I mean, and so it was, that process was strange, and I was like, whoa. I felt like, okay, the world is opened up. I don't know. It was like, I felt weird about it.
Right.
Like a little grossed out.
Right. By that time, we made the decision to give it a shot.
Right. But did you feel some type of way about the donor that I had picked?
Didn't we pick it together?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't remember. I don't remember feeling any like.
I mean, I showed it to you. You were like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, at that point it was like it didn't really. I don't think it mattered a whole lot. We were gonna deal with what we were gonna deal with. So we chose a donor, and then I think the most comical part, if there's anything funny about it, the most comical part of the whole process was going to pick up.
Like going to order it and then going.
No, we ordered it online.
Right.
But then going to pick it up, I think was kind of funny, because I think that the vial. I mean, it's sperm, right? So it can't be too big of a vial. The vial was probably this big.
Right. So I wasn't expecting like anything huge. I was like, oh, I could put it in my purse or something like that.
Yeah, but but it had to be refrigerated. So.
But I thought they were going to put us in something that was going to keep it refrigerated and I could put it in my purse.
No. They gave us a oxygen tank sized.
Like a
container of liquid nitrogen.
Right.
So we drove it back.
This humongous thing for a vial that was like this big. It was like this tall and it had wheels.
Yeah. Then the next day we went and had the procedure done.
And it felt very violating. And then I got instantly sick. Because I was, at that point, they were like inserting it or injecting you or something. And I was like.
Did you blank out or something?
No, it's just like, you don't think about it. It's because, especially if you're doing it like if you're having sex? Yes. If you're having sex and the whole sperm ejaculation thing, you don't really think about it.
Because it's hopefully enjoyable.
Right. You don't think about it, blah, blah, blah. You clean up, get dressed.
Right.
But going to a sterile place, putting on a paper gown.
Putting your feet in the stirrups.
Putting your feet in the stirrups. And them saying, we're going to inject this washed sperm inside of you that does not belong to your husband.
Right.
Even if it does belong to your husband, it's just like, okay, you know, it's kind of like the putting the cream in a Twinkie, like.
That's nasty. Nobody wants that image, babe.
But it felt very much like being stuffed. Twinkie? It felt very much like being stuffed with something that I didn't want to happen.
Yeah. And
it was just like I instantly got sick.
Right.
Like I wanted to regurgitate.
Yeah.
I mean, on top of the fact that my hormones were like
because you didn't get a chance to talk about the shots.
No, because.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You should tell them about the shots.
That's what I was trying to. Yeah, you was talking too much.
I'm sorry. Just tell them about the shots.
So after the process of making the decision whether or not you want to do IUI or IVF, you still have to take hormones.
Yes.
Because you have to produce. You're allowing your body to produce as many follicles as possible, so that when you ovulate, and then they check your uterus, they can see kind of like where they are and like the health of them and all that. So I was on all of these hormones, not to mention it's like how many weeks of shots every day?
Oh, man. I don't know.
It was like, it
was
I'm about to lie because it felt like it was a month of shots.
It was at least a month.
And I was, so every night or every day, whatever, you would have to like give me, first of all, I'm scared of needles.
Right. That's what I was going to say. The fact that you had to take a shot every day.
For like a month.
For probably a month, I think. And that I had to give you the shot.
Right. I was mad at you all the time.
And you hate needles.
Right. I'm not the needle one.
No.
And then, so every day you're shooting me in the butt.
Right.
And then on top of that, I get this surge of something, and I'm like wigging out, crying all the time. I don't know if I'm crying because of the needle or if it's the hormones. You see it on TV, And because I had never been pregnant and never experienced it, but it also seemed like they had me on some kind of high dosage though, because I went from like being my regular self, which is hyper, to like feeling like I was 20 times myself.
Right.
And not really knowing where to put all of those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot for me.
Yeah.
And then now I still got to bend over for you to give me this shot. And it made it even worse. Because then I was just mad at you. Knowing the process we were going through and knowing that the shots was part of the process, I was still mad at you forever.
Right. Because you didn't want the needle.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And then I was overly emotional and then going for the procedure and getting all squished up. It was horrible. And it wasn't like, oh, once a procedure happens, you're automatically not emotional. You still have all the same hormones. Now you're just like, I got this foreign subject squishing around in me. I hope it works.
It was an interesting few days of getting it done, and after that trying to make sure everything was everything and being concerned about you.
And then they're like, okay, if you haven't had your menstrual in 2 weeks, give us a call.
Right.
It was 2 weeks and I hadn't had my menstrual.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh man, maybe I should take a pregnancy test.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right around Mother's Day, because I remember I was 2 weeks out, hadn't had my menstrual, and I just knew that I was pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But they had told us during the process of getting all the information done that it usually takes people 5 or 6 times to have this particular procedure before they get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I was thinking, okay, God's got me.
Mm-hmm.
And, we couldn't have it. We couldn't go through the natural process for this. And then we adopted. And so now we're doing this now. So I just knew for sure, that it was going to be a one and done situation, especially after I had that experience that I did not like. And then it was a Saturday before Mother's Day, and we were at one of our church members' house, and they were having a mother-daughter tea, and you were there, and Halima was there, and we were just having a good old time. And I got up to go to the bathroom, and from the bathroom, everybody was in the backyard, so from the bathroom, you could see everybody. The window was open, so you could see everybody, and I'm in there, using the bathroom. And right before I, went to pull my clothes up, out of nowhere, it just gushes and gushes, and more blood than I had ever seen in my life. And I'm like trying to clean it up, and I'm still emotional, and I'm looking out the window at all the mothers and their daughters, and I see Halima. But I also see all of the women who were able to have kids biologically, while I'm trying to clean up all of this blood and just, clean up everywhere. And I just, for a moment, just blanked out. I think it was more than my mind could take. And at that moment, obviously, I wasn't pregnant or I was dying. Like, I didn't know.
Right.
So I felt like I'm obviously not pregnant or I'm dying. And then, like, I felt like, is God not going to do this for me? Or is this not what was supposed to be part of our story? Right. And so it was just a lot of emotions, and I was crying. And did I call you?
Yes.
On the phone? On my cell phone?
I don't know, but I think you called me into the house.
Yeah, I called you to the house. I was like, I need you to come in the bathroom. And I was cramping, and it was painful. And I was like, I'm at somebody's house. I can't leave all this blood everywhere. It was an experience.
I think later, like, we talked about it later, and I think that, because at the time, I don't know if you thought that you were having a miscarriage,
right?
Or did you just, or things, it was you were just having a, like, really heavy menstrual.
Right.
But I think later on, you thought about, like, I think I had a miscarriage. Because I remember you saying that to me. Was that the first time you had considered it?
Yeah, that was the first time I had considered it. Because when they initially told me, they'll be like, you know, whether or not you're pregnant because your menstrual will start, and it will be like a normal menstrual.
Right.
And even though my menstruals were heavy, it had never been so much blood. Like, I was like, what is that? Like, at one point, I didn't even consider the fact that I wasn't pregnant, because I was so panicking that there was so much blood.
Right.
And it wasn't our house.
Right.
So I'm trying not to get blood on carpets, and, you know, and I'm like, what is happening here?
Right. So that's what I was wondering. I didn't know if you had thought about it in the moment, and then you just told me later, or in reflecting, you were like, I think that might have been.
Well, I never had anything like that happen to me before in my life, and maybe it was just a menstrual, and I don't know, but in my heart, I felt like I was really pregnant. And I know a lot of people feel that, but it's a different kind of feeling. And and women who have been pregnant will probably know. And, like, I don't know. I still don't know to this day, but I know the feeling I had. Right.
Okay. That's what I was wondering about. It was a lot to go through for you, and it was a lot just to try to care for you, because I don't know what to do. Like, I wasn't sure how to help and how to console and how to do those things, but I just tried to be there.
So after that experience, after like a couple of months, and then you were like, do you want to try again? I was like, absolutely not. I can't go through that again. I'm not exactly sure what it happened or whatever, but I was like, I never want to do that again. It was so emotionally draining. And then to have gone through that whole process where I was bleeding and I was in so much pain, I was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again.
Right.
And at that point, I think that we went into a conversation of, should we adopt again? Because we still had the goal of 3 kids.
Yeah.
Well, secretly, you had the goal of 2.
I mean, to be honest, when we first started talking, I was at 4.
Okay.
Because this was when we were in our 20s. And that was a long time ago.
Right.
Right? So now we're
well into our 30s.
Well into our 30s. You were still on 3.
I was still on 3.
I was like, we'll see what happens after, if the Lord blesses us this time.
I was still on 3. And so I was like, well, I don't want to do that again. So we started talking about adopting again.
And it was something that we had done, and we knew how to do it.
Right.
And we had the experience. Like, it was great for us. Like, the experience was good.
It was a great experience.
And the first one was great. It was really pretty easy the first time.
If anything can be easy.
If it can be easy, right?
Right.
So we knew that was a viable option for us, and that's what we decided to do.
And so I think one of the lessons that I learned was that families are formed in many different ways. It was very similar to right before our first adoption, but I also came to the realization that just because we had to consider another form of becoming pregnant didn't mean that I was never going to be a mother for the second time. And it didn't mean that I was never meant to be a mother, because I know that I had a lot of conversations with other people that were saying, like, if I just can't get pregnant, then it must not be meant for me to be a mother. And I had considered the mindset before, like, am I trying to push something that God is saying that, you know, that's not his will for my life? And I just really thought, like, it's not true. It's not true. And I wasn't going to adopt that mindset just because it may have been the mindset of some of those around me.
Right. So that's what we decided to do. And we weren't going to let other folks, like you said, let other folks' ideas or thoughts change what we believe that God was doing in our life.
Right.
Because we both know that we were meant to be parents. And I believe that God confirmed that for us. We had a difficult time with the insemination, but he still opened the door for another amazing child to be placed into our care, and we trusted him that he would do that, and he did, and he trusted us with him. So that is our story for today.
Right.
Hopefully you got something from it. If you did, if you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. It would help us out a lot. If you're on Apple Podcasts or somebody else's podcast, give us a review. 5 stars preferably. And so that lets people know that is something good to listen to. So if you enjoyed it, please do that. And that's it. That's all.
That's it. That's all. See you next time.